To create a prehistoric landscape, we need to think in terms of foreground and middle ground and the background. So in the foreground, we want to have sort of grass and stuff. And in the middle ground, we're going to want to have our dinosaurs. And I'm going to put a dinosaur on this side of the page. So we can have something else sort of major on that side. And this is going to be like a T-Rex. And we want kind of a big block like that. And then, now I'm going to draw this really quite quickly, I think, because if you look down here, you'll see chapters on the YouTube video, and you'll be able to go along there and see how to draw a T-Rex, how to draw a Triceratops or a Brontosaurus, and you can change whichever dinosaur you want. Now, in the foreground, we're going to want to have sort of plants and things like that. And then in the middle ground, the foreground is really good also for hiding the dinosaur's feet, so we don't have to draw those, and they're really complicated. In the middle ground, then we'll have sort of gentle kind of hills, and we're going to want to have trees and things like that. And then in the background, way on the horizon, so this is going to be our kind of other main bit of focus, is going to be a volcano that's going to be sort of thinking about exploding at any minute, and we might have sort of streams of stuff going away like that. So it's really good to plan your drawings like this. Think of it like tracing paper or sort of transparent sheets that you've got. In the front, you've got the grass at the foreground, then behind that you've got the dinosaur and the trees, and behind that again on another sheet of paper almost, you've got the volcano in the distance. So I'm going to draw our dinosaur looking a little bit, and I'm going to do these really quickly because, as I say, you can go and have a look at the individual videos. So I've got individual videos along the chapters at the bottom here for all these things that I'm drawing, and we'll have the dinosaur. So I draw quite quickly, don't I? But then I've had a lot of experience. We need to put some teeth into there. Oh, I forgot to leave some space for the hands. There we are. Like the hands, they're arms, aren't they, with these little claws at the front. And I can sort of hide that mistake there with a little bit of shading. And I'm going to do some little bits of sort of stripy kind of shading down the back of the dinosaur, and maybe on the legs as well, like that. And then we're going to want some proper shading in there as well, and maybe under there too. Now here we're going to have him sort of wading through the grass, so we don't have to draw those really complicated feet. But if you want to draw the feet, go and see, come along here, find T-Rex and go and see how to draw the feet, because I've shown you how to do that in the other lesson. Now here I'm going to draw these sort of things coming out here like that. I'm going to have that coming up there, and then I'm going to do a funny little thing like that so that it looks like it's sort of folding over. And these are going to be ferns. So ferns are really, really ancient plants that were around in prehistoric times, but you'll also see them nowadays. I know I live near a forest, and we go walking there quite often, and there are ferns. Now those are all at the front, so we could maybe have a couple sort of in the back there, hiding, just poking through. And then you want to do this pattern all the way through all of them like that. We want that coming, the rib coming down the middle. So I'll just whoosh through this. And then we're going to do another one sort of quite similar. Put these things just sort of pointing up like that. And then we're going to put little kind of seed head things on the top. So again, these are called horsetails. You can find them along at the bottom here too. And these just have these kind of scribbles like that. And they really do just sort of look like this. In fact, I went to a bird sanctuary thing at the weekend and was sitting there having my sandwich, sitting on a little bench, and I realised that all around me were not horsetails but mare's tails, which aren't quite so big as horsetails, and they're prehistoric plants that are still alive today. And you can find things like that, you know, they've just survived the millions and millions of years, and you just keep drawing these little scribbly bits like this, which makes it really quite easy, doesn't it, like that. And then we'll just put lots more grass all the way in. And this grass, as I say, you want to do a big one, and they're flicks like that, and then flick the other direction. Flick, flick, and then smaller flicks on either side like that. And you could maybe sort of put a little bit of seeds, and, you know, sort of, you get those little sort of things popping up in the grass, don't you, like that. Like that, which just makes it a bit more exciting. So, and here again, we can just put some more like that. And that is our foreground done. So now we're going to want to have in the background, we'll have these sort of trees like that. And these are very simple trees again. And again, if you look down in the menu below, you'll see how to draw different kinds of trees. And I'll just draw another bit sort of there like that, and maybe another one coming up there like that. And then this is really, really very, very simple like that. So we're just going to do these kind of scribbly. They're kind of like a palmy kind of tree. And when you look at palm trees, they're pretty prehistoric too, really. And then we're going to do this other one that's going to come up sort of like that in the background, and that will go there and there. And this is called a Cycad tree with a C-Y-C-A-D. And these really do look pretty ancient, and we have these kind of stripy stems like that, and if we put dead leaves going that way and then live leaves going up that way, and they do look quite old, and you'll find these still alive today. We can maybe put another one in there, but a smaller one, so it looks like it's a bit sort of further away. And you'll find these today on Mount Kilimanjaro in East Africa, like that. So that can be sort of in the background there. And then we can sort of have this. This is the middle ground. So this is just in the distance, and maybe a few rocks and things like that. And then we can come to the volcano, which has maybe got some sort of lava flowing down from the top like that. And then we can bring that coming down there and down there. And we want these kind of lava lines coming down in these sort of curving angles like that, and maybe some rocks and things like that. And then we just have some sort of smoke coming out of the top like that. And then all you need to do is to erase those pencil lines. And I think I forgot to mention at the beginning that you want to draw really gently when you're doing this sort of an pen and ink drawing. If you draw really, really gently to start off with, then it's much easier to erase those pencil lines. If you press too hard, the pencil gets stuck right into the paper, and it's really hard to get rid of. Now I'm just going to add a bit of shading into these trees just to make them a bit darker like that. And you can split up the different foreground and the background with colour as well. So if we have the foreground in this sort of sandy kind of colour, because the ground is not all it's the same colour, and so you know you might have this sandy kind of bit like that, and the bottom of the volcano might be kind of sort of greenish, but then again it might be kind of purplish as well, so we can do whatever colour we like. And then of course here you're going to want to have some sort of green grass. These ferns will be very green, And so will the tops of the trees. And then we'll make our dinosaur a kind of a dinosaur colour. It's not very helpful, is it? We'll just do that. And I want to make that a bit lighter on the tummy there, in fact, so I can, if I'm using a watercolour, I can just kind of get some kitchen towel and just get rid of that, the bit that I've painted, and just make the bits I want darker like that. And I think I want the volcano to be sort of rising up out of a sort of a darkness here like that. So I'll make that all a bit darker down here, like this is where the sun never goes. And it's good to kind of make up a story about your drawing while you're doing it. You can imagine that's the dark valley of the volcano down there. And we can add little bits of grass and stuff in there too. And then finally, I think we'll have a little bit of kind of glow coming out of the volcano like that. So there's something going on up there. And maybe a bit of sort of shadow with this crumbly stuff up at the top. Because you can keep going forever, and you know, with these sort of ferns, you can always sort of paint one side slightly darker than the other side, like that. There you are, that's how to draw a dinosaur landscape, and keep watching and I'll show you how to draw different dinosaurs, different plants, different volcanoes and things like that. Have fun with your dinosaur landscapes. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw an exploding volcano. You're going to need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. Now with a pencil, draw very lightly, hardly touch the paper. So can you see that? Just about. And draw like an X, like that. Don't press too hard because then it's going to be really difficult to erase the pencil later. The lighter you press, the easier it is to erase. So we are going to start at the top of the volcano, round about here. And we're going to draw this little kind of a hook at each end and a line, and there's a hook there. And this is the top of the volcano. And then we're going to come around like that. So this is going to be all the blobby lava flowing down like that. And maybe, so you can make this really kind of blobby. Come around here a little bit like that. So it wants to come over the top there, and it's coming streaking down like that. And then here we can draw the rest of the volcano, which is going to be quite rocky on the edge like that. And we can maybe have another stream of lava coming down like that as well. Maybe another bit sort of dripping down there. And then with your pencil, you want to draw like a donut. Okay, so what we're going to do is an ellipse like that, and then this little curve there. So this is a real exploding volcano, and so these want to curve outwards a little bit there. This is going to stop when you get to that line of the ellipse there. It's kind of a rugby ball or American football shape, isn't it? And then here we want to have this kind of cloud sort of shapes like this. So we want to do a little curve there and then a big one, and then we can have a little one underneath. That's going to come around there and maybe around like that. Another one there maybe. Now here we're going to go the other way. So these are sort of curling down, and these are going to curl up like that. So we want a little one there and something like that, and then just going up there, and then these whooshy bits can be coming out like that, and then they're sort of starting to come out at an angle. So they want to be kind of, if this is the point here, then they want to be sort of coming out at an angle from that point like that, and they're kind of whoosh like that. and whoosh, and then we can draw the rest of the cloud. So it's sort of a bit like a mushroom cloud smoke ring kind of thing, isn't it there? And we're going to want to have bits of rock and all sorts of stuff being exploded out there. And here we can maybe get some more curves coming out slightly sideways, but curves, we still need a curve, because you get that parabolic curve like a cannonball or something when you up in the air and then it comes down in a nice curve. So it's the same thing. These rocks are just like a lot of cannonballs exploding out of the volcano like that, and they can have little whooshy lines attached to them as well. We'll have something, a few more like that, and we're going to have some sort of coming out from underneath. We're probably going to have a few very close in there as well. Now I think we need a little bit more detail in this cloud, like that. When you are absolutely sure that your ink is dry, then you can erase those pencil lines, which, because I've drawn very gently, come away very easily. If you press too hard, you know what it's like. You kind of dig it into the paper, don't you? And you can never get it out again. So we can maybe do some sort of little short ones to fill in these spaces, and maybe just sort of flick them up like that. And again, underneath here we can do some little short ones if you can fit them in there. And I think we're going to try and bring these right down to join the top there, so then we can make that dark on either side. And we're going to make these look a little bit cloudy with these sort of curving lines. So these are, this is called hatching. And so we're using kind of little lines like this to make it, it's adding shade basically. So it's instead of sort of just scribbling in black, because we do little lines like this, it makes it look sort of like grey or something. And it also gives a bit of shape to the cloud as well, doesn't it? Like, let's put a bit in there, like that as well. I think we've got a lot of tremor and movement going on, haven't we? So we can maybe put some little movement lines in there, and I think we've probably got some movement coming on the side of the volcano as well, so we can make that kind of shiver a bit. Now down at the bottom here, I'm going to put some big rocks like that. So they're just zigzaggy things like that, and maybe some little rocks on the side of the volcano. And then here we want to bring these lines down. So if we got a point here, it's like we're all coming down. Well, it's about here actually, isn't it? We're coming down from that point, and as you come around, the angle changes, doesn't it? So let's try putting one there, and this line will sort of come there. We can draw a line there, and you can maybe draw one there as well. You could pencil these in very gently if that makes it easier for you. And we're just going to now draw in some of these lines just to give that sort of feeling of the angle of the volcano. And I'm going to put some more hatching things in here like that, and especially around these lava bits, because that's going to help to make them stand out. Now here you see I'm crossing over those lines with more hatching here, so that's called cross hatching, because I'm going across the hatching that I've done already, and that just sort of makes the eye think it's a lot darker. And this is an active volcano, not to be confused with the dormant volcano, which I did last time. You can see that in the video up here. a dormant volcano is asleep, where it comes from the French word dormir, to sleep. So it's not dead. it's just thinking about exploding again one day. And so if you see a little wisp of smoke coming out of a volcano, then you know it's not dead, it's not extinct, and it could at any moment, kaboom, blow up. And volcanoes do kind of surprise the scientists when they go. You can't always predict when a volcano is going to explode. This video shows you how to draw a Brontosaurus. You're going to need a pencil, a pen and an eraser. Okay, start just slightly over to one side with an ellipse, a blob, an oval, an American football, a rugby ball. And then here's a tip. Look, just get a piece of scrap paper and work out the width of that. And then we want one width, and then we want about 3/4. And at this end we want 1, 2, and maybe a bit like that. On the top here we're going to come down slightly and then start going up, and then round about here we want to have this sort of circular teardroppy kind of shape like that. And then this is going to come down and up, and there's quite a long thin whippy end to the tail there. And then we want this long, thin, elegant neck coming down like that, and a long, thin, elegant tail coming out like that. We're going to want to have a leg coming forward and a leg coming back. And then we're going to want kind of a bendy leg. That's the knee. That will come into the back and then down, and then another one going forward. This is a very long, thin drawing. Now I'm going to start up at this end here, and I'm going to draw like that. And I'm going to draw some bits of grass, weed, something like that the Brontosaurus been eating. Let's put an eye in there as well while we're at it. And then we want to have a kind of a bottom jaw, and then we'll have some more bits on the other side like that. Now you can move this around if it's going to help you. And I'm going to draw all the way along like that, and then up and over the back, smooth-ish. Well, it's a big, big thing, so you're not going to see many bumps and lumps on the skin. So I'm just going to do something like that. And then I think I'm going to draw the legs now. So the front leg is going to come down there, sort of like that. And there's 1, 2, 3. I'm just going to put 4 little toes on the end. There are 5, but the other one is hidden around the back there. And then I'm going to draw this leg here going 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of all you see. And then we'll just bring that up there like that, because you're only going to see 4 there because the other one is round the back. Now we can draw all the way down to here, and then this will be the belly coming underneath, and then this great long whippy tail gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner until it just disappears at the end. Then we're going to want a leg on the other side that's sort of going backwards like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you'll see this one coming in there like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this would be a really good time to erase all those pencil lines. And if you haven't pressed too hard, you should be able to erase those lines really, really easily. And people will go, how did you plan that out so well to get it right in the middle of the page nicely like that? You're a real artist, they'll say. Now we're going to put some sort of wrinkles and things in there like that. And I think we're just going to put these little sort of wrinkly marks like that. They can just fade out, and we'll have some down there as well. We're going to have they're little dashes, dots and dashes. And here we got some shade, but we'll put some extra dots and dashes in down there like that. And there, and little dots and dashes. And we'll maybe put some little whooshy lines there as well. And I'm just going to do some bits of grass. So these are just little dashes and flicks of lines which just make it look like it's grass. And then here we could maybe draw something. Oh, I tell you what, let's do something like that. And you can find there's another one of my videos. Well, I've got quite a few videos showing you how to draw prehistoric plants and things as well. So we could have those there. And maybe we could have some of those crossed over as well like that. And so we can make this like a bit of a little mini landscape like that. This video shows you how to draw prehistoric tree for your dinosaur pictures. You're going to need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. Now we're going to just draw a line down the middle, and that's basically all we need, I think. And that is just a really simple guide to make sure that we're drawing it vertically and in the middle of the page. Now from the top, we want this to come down, just getting slightly wider down to the bottom. So this wants to be a really sort of tall, thin tree like that, just getting slightly wider at the bottom. And then in fact we can draw a little bit of the ground, crumbly kind of line, a few little flicks up, that'll make for grass and things like that. And we go flick, 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 and that just does grass. And we'll just let that go sideways. Actually, I'm going to draw another pencil line coming down like this. So it's a bit like a Christmas tree. And then we're going to draw like a curve coming out like that. And then another one there. Another one there. So make these nice and equal, these sort of distances. That will come to about there. And we'll have a little one up at the top. Now, when you are absolutely sure that the ink is dry, then you can erase those pencil marks and no one will know how you managed to get it in the right place and drawn it so accurately. And then we're going to draw like that, and then like that, and then like that. So we're going to do sort of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So it's not quite so long, and then those are much shorter. Not so long and shorter. And you probably don't need to do much there at all up at the top. And in fact, I think we can bring these down so some of them look like they're coming from the front of the trunk of the tree. And then I'm going to do what we call hatching. So I'm just going to do up this side, and it's very difficult once it gets really thin, but I'm just doing these little marks which just sort of, it doesn't just colour it in black, it sort of makes it look more grey, I suppose. And down at the bottom here it gives it a bit of texture and sort of shading as well. And then on each of these branches you want to sort of flick upwards, scribbling these little upward leaves like they were sort of pine leaves or something like that, pine needles, but they're not. Okay, and then we're just going to do that there and just work our way up to the top. And this kind of tree is called a Calamites tree, and it's sort of related to, there's another video I did called Horsetails, which is a prehistoric plant, but it's not a tree, but it's kind of very similar sort of design idea, and they're probably related somewhere. And you can use this in fantastic dinosaur drawings if you're doing kind of dinosaur landscapes, and you can also find I've done how to draw dinosaurs as well. This video shows you how to draw a prehistoric tree that you can add to your dinosaur pictures. You're going to need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. Now with the pencil we're just going to plan this out. So we'll just sort of draw this sort of 2 lines like that, and then we're going to want the leaves coming out something like that. You need to draw very gently because we're going to erase these pencil lines later. And if you press too hard, you just can't get rid of that pencil. And a little plan like this helps you to get it all in the right position on the page as well. Now we'll start here and we're just going to do this kind of slightly zigzaggy kind of crumbly kind of line coming down like that. And just slightly on the other way, so that was going out and in, out and in. This is coming out and then back like that, so out and back. There we are. So it just wants to look a bit crumbly along this line. And then this is going to be growing out of the forest floor, so we can have some sort of leaves and stones and things like that there. And then we're going to draw the spines or the ribs of these leaves, sort of coming out like that. And they're curving out like an umbrella, really. Now we're done with the pencil, so if you're sure that your ink is dry, then you can erase the pencil lines without smudging the ink. And then we're just going to do lots of these scribbly kind of lines all the way across like that. And this is going to take you a little while to do, but take your time and you'll get there in the end. That's a lovely thing about drawing. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm not sure about this, but if you just keep going, it all comes together and looks like it's meant to do. Because quite often in the middle of a drawing you think that doesn't look like anything, but if you just keep going, it all comes together. I think you should have the idea of this by now, so I'm going to zip through the rest of it. Click the subscribe button and make sure you keep coming back to this channel. Now, this wants to look a little bit kind of hairy, so we're going to add some extra sort of hairy kind of lines. And these are just a little bit random and sort of, but generally pointing down, and change the angle as you're going. And they're just these little kind of hairy little marks, really. And again, yeah, they're just sort of random, but they all come together to make up the drawing in the end. A drawing's always made up of all sorts of different kind of funny shaped marks. Now you might want to go over some of the kind of lighter areas and make sure you've got enough of these little lines in there that they show up. Good. And now we're going to draw the leaves. So these are just going to be sort of flicked out like this. And they're facing forwards as you come down the leaf like that. And then we can do the same on the other side, going the other angle, coming all the way down to the bottom like that. Now if you're drawing this in colour, you might want to draw these things with a green coloured pencil or something like that, because this is obviously drawn in a black pen, so it's going to be difficult to colour this in. You could sort of colour some sort of green in the background, but this is kind of the thickness of the actual leaves like this, so they're not kind of spines or ribs down the leaf. These are the leaves. I'm going to put another one about there as well, so this can come over the bit of trunk that we've done already. And like I say, these are very, very ancient trees. So these are cycads, and they were around in prehistoric times. So this would be really good to have in the background if you're doing dinosaur pictures, something like that. And actually, I'm going to spin this around a little bit to make it easier for myself. And you're allowed to do that. You don't have to have the picture always exactly facing you in the vertical. You can spin it around if it's going to make it easier for you. And because these little lines here are slightly curved, it's good because I'm kind of twisting around like that. So it's good to sort of move the paper to suit how my hand is going to make these marks. And although these are prehistoric, you can still see them growing. Mostly in kind of tropically kind of countries and jungles and things like that. But of course, over the years and the centuries, people have sort of discovered them, and they've taken cuttings or seeds and things, and they've brought them back to their different parts of the world. and they grow them in sort of botanical gardens and all sorts of places. So you can go and see these living fossils. They're not fossils because they're not made of stone, but they're sort of living testimony to the prehistoric era. And I'm just going to add a few more of these little spotty bits here because you've got a bit of shade coming from the leaves on the top. But also now from there, now I'm just going to draw more spotty bits just down one side, so you get a kind of slightly shaded on the side of this plant like that. And now I'm just doing dots. I'm just going dot, 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 dot. But it's just adding some shade to the side of the plant to make it look a bit more cylindrical. All you need to do now is colour in your Cycad and click the subscribe button. Let's draw a volcano. You're going to need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. So draw a kind of triangle pyramid just to give you the shape and also to give you the position on the paper for where you want it to be. And we're going to have sort of smoke coming out there. When you do this kind of a planning drawing, make sure you don't press hard, press very gently, and then it's easy to erase later. Now up at the top here, we're going to come in a bit like that, and then we can make this quite a crumbly, sort of wiggly line down there. And we'll come in there a bit as well, and we'll come down a crumbly, kind of rumbly line down there like that. And then we want the top of the volcano like that. So it's sort of a bit of an ellipse, but we're going to leave bits there at the top. And we can maybe just put little dots there to make them fade out. And then we're going to have the smoke up at the top, which is just going to curve like a snake. And then we'll start a little bit higher. And we'll just let that curve away there. And we'll do another one that's just going to sort of curve away there. And it's just lazily curving up. This is a dormant volcano, which means it's sleeping. Dormir is the French word for sleep. And that's where we get words like dormitory from, is where you sleep, isn't it? In a dormitory, isn't it? And so let's put some rocks down at the bottom here. So these are just wiggly rock kind of shapes. And then if you're absolutely sure the ink is dry, you can erase the pencil lines then. You see how easily they erase if you don't press too hard. Up at the top, we want to get this feeling of it being a cone. So draw one down, straight down, and then we want to kind of split that space in between at an angle like that. And let's do that as well on that side. And then we can do more like that, and maybe we can do bigger ones and smaller ones, splitting down in between each time, and that kind of gives us that sort of feeling of the cone. And then we're going to want something similar happening down here. So we've got the one in the middle, and then we want to split the angle here like that, and again here. So that sort of helps us to plan where the other sort of lines and things are going. So the volcano is kind of made from lava that is all kind of flowed down. So we can have these kind of lines coming down like this, and maybe the odd sort of bits of rock in between like that. And then I'm also going to add some bits of hatching. So this kind of style of shading kind of thing is called hatching. So we just put little hatches, 1, 2, 3. So you can start with a small one and make it bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and smaller and smaller and smaller. And you can have them small, 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 and then it can sort of join that the line there, and that will kind of make a shadow in the valley there. And we can do the same here, like that. And we can do them in the rocks down below as well, just to give them a bit of sort of shape. And we might want to add a bit of sort of shadow behind the rocks going up on either side. And we'll have a bit there behind that rock there too, maybe a bit of something going on up there. Then all you need to do is to colour it in. What colour will you choose? You could have sort of browns or purples or greys, or you can just choose your favourite colour. Okay? If you want to draw an exploding video, that's my next video. If you watched this far, you obviously like drawing, so click down there and make sure you are subscribed to Draw Stuff Real Easy for lots more drawing videos. Learn to draw a prehistoric tree that you can use in your dinosaur pictures. You'll need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. We're going to use the pencil to start off with to get the picture in the right position on the page. And we're going to do something like that, and then we're going to come out there. And we want a kind of a curve in there like that. And this is going to come up there and then kind of curve in like that. That should sort of do it. And then we want, I wasn't paying attention, we want that sort of roundabout there. It's really good to plan a drawing with the pencil, but make sure that you draw really, really gently. If you press too hard, you won't be able to erase the pencil lines later. Now here, we're going to draw, these are kind of dead leaves that sort of hang down like that. And we want more on this side. And so they kind of curve one way and then they curve another. And this one is sort of hiding behind there like that. And then we want leaves. Now these are going to be nice sort of plump, fresh leaves, these ones. And they're curving upwards like that. We can maybe have another one out there. And like that. And then we can have this extra row like that. And maybe we'll just sort of fill in between those sort of teeth. They're not teeth, they're leaves. And then we can have a line across there. Let's put that little line in there now. So we're going to do the same thing here. We want these sort of, they curve this way until you get to the middle, and then they curve the other way. So we can draw these up there like that. Now this one is just slightly behind. So let's start out this side here. And then that's going to sort of finish behind there. And then we can draw, oh, you had to sort of fit them in behind and fit them in sort of in between the teeth of the one below. And this is, now this is where we draw this sort of trunk of the tree, and it really is kind of shaggy like this. So you want to sort of draw this sort of shaggy kind of line. And this is why it's good to have the pencil there to follow along, you see. So that's going to be pointing out this sort of shagginess there, like that. And now this now this is the giant groundsel, which lives on Mount Kilimanjaro in East Africa. So we're going to have it just sort of growing out of the soil like that. So if we have a few sort of rocks and things and maybe a few little bits of grass or something just growing up there. And then if you're absolutely sure that the ink is dry, you can erase all the pencil lines because you don't need those anymore. And people will go, how did you get that so accurately drawn? You're a genius. So we're now going to just do a lot of scribbling, basically. It's a bit trickier here because we want to get this scribbling up into and under those. These are the dead leaves there. So they're going to be a kind of browny kind of colour, I suppose. And now we want to draw these kind of scribbly lines going from one side to the other. But by doing them in lines, it kind of gets that sort of, it's like each line is a year's worth of growth. So it sort of shows how it's grown over the years. So we can do that there. And again, be careful underneath the dead leaf bits here. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to draw quite dark there, and then just not quite so heavy. Sort of take your hand off. Don't press so hard when you get to that bit. there, and then underneath here we're going to have this quite dark again, scribbling away underneath the dead leaves that hang down. And then that can be really quite dark, and then we can make that a little bit lighter on this side. So you can press and draw close together and then further apart on the other side, and that makes it look darker on that side. And we carry on this side like that. And eventually we're going to get the two joining up together like that. And we'll get down to the bottom, all the way down. And there you go. We can maybe kind of draw some little things like that in there, in between sort of the triangles of the leaves. Like that. It'll just give a little bit more kind of shape to each individual leaf then. There we go. Now all you need to do now is colour in your giant groundsel and hit the subscribe button. This video shows you how to draw a prehistoric fern. You're going to need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. We're going to use the pencil to plan out this drawing. We'll have a little curl on the end there. And when you plan a drawing like this, you want to draw very, very gently with your pencil, because otherwise it digs in too much and you won't be able to erase the pencil lines later. So let's put one about there and one about there. And sometimes they split at the end there. And maybe something like that. And maybe another one sort of coming out around there. So now we know that it's going to fit in the middle of the page, or exactly where we want it to be. And let's start with this one here. And this is going to come up and around. And this is the tricky bit, okay? This is the one tricky bit. So here we're going to start at the top of the curve and we'll come sideways. And then you can go a little bit wobbly if you like. And we'll come down to about there and come in and join. Now up at the top here, we want this to sort of come like that to a point, and then that will come up there and then join in there. So if we come up this side now, like that, that will come underneath, and that then gives us this bit that's folded over on the top. Here we can have that going up there like that, so that we can have another one that's sort of coming up, and it's kind of split. So that sort of happens sometimes. And this one here is coming up there with the line down the middle of it. And then can you follow the line through down there? And that will then sort of come in about there. We have another one. So we need the stalky bit there as well. This is going to come all the way around like that. And that's going to come up here, and it's going to do funny little sort of foldy curl around thing there. And then this one can come out and do something very similar, so it's sort of coming out about there, and it's got a little sort of curl. It's coming there, and then we can have one more. That's the bit around the back. And we can start up at the top and we can kind of fit that in around the back there like that. And we want the line down the middle as well. Now you've drawn that, you can erase the pencil lines as long as you are sure that the ink is dry, because otherwise it's going to smudge all over the place. Now we have to put these little sort of zebra lines on our leaf. So this is the underneath of the leaf here, and you get these sort of dark patches. So this is where the sort of spores come out of, each of like the seeds, and you can put a little bit there. So they're quite dark underneath like that, and we just work our way up, just doing these markings like that. And I think we can probably do the same here. So we're just going to draw little lines here, and they're not touching. They're right in the middle of the space in between the rib and the outside, so don't have them touching the rib down the middle or the outside line. So that takes a bit of concentration to do that. And they're kind of going sort of flattish but pointing upwards a bitish as well, like that. And we can maybe put some little dots in there. If it's easier, you can turn the page, and if that's going to make it easy for you, there's no there's no rule that says you got to make it difficult for yourself when you're drawing. So if it's easy to turn the page, turn the page. And this side, it's just little stabs of the pen here. I'm not really pressing too hard. It's just like almost like a dot, really. And again here, so that's going to come all the way up there, and then we want a little bit in there, and here we're going to see a bit as well, like that. And we're going to have a bit here. Now this will touch that line because it's going behind it. Okay, and then we want this to have this sort of growing out of the ground. So if you just put some little marks like that, and it looks like it's growing out of the grass. All you need to do now is colour in your prehistoric Harts tongue fern and hit the subscribe button. This video shows you how to draw a prehistoric tree. You will need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. Now we're going to use the pencil very gently, hardly touch the paper, and this is to help us position the drawing where we want it to be. So this is going to sort of come up there, getting thinner as we get to the top, and then it's going to split. Ooh, let's do that a bit lower. I'm going to erase that. Now don't press too hard. So we want to have like a V there, and then we want that going up there, and then we're going to want another V, and then here we're going to want another V, so that's going to be out there like that, and then these ones are going to want to have a V in them too, like that. And now we can use some ink, and I'm going to draw a really shaky, crumbly line down there like that. And again, a very shaky, crumbly line down there like that. And then we can do these by just sort of following the lines that we've done. And you can make them slightly thinner if you want, or just a little bit more. Makes it look a bit more elegant, really, like that. And then we can just, you have to pretend you're nervous, like you're going to see the head teacher or something like that. And oh, there we go, and there. So we just slightly nervous kind of line. And then if you make sure that the ink is dry, you can just erase the pencil marks at that point. And then each of these branches is going to have these sort of great big sort of shaggy bits of leafy stuff like that. And if you're drawing this in colour, you can do these scribbly bits with green felt tip pen or crayons or coloured pencils, whatever you want to colour them in with, like that. But obviously I'm doing them in black ink because that's what I got in my pen. So, and then we're just going to keep doing these. They're a bit like rah-rah sort of pom-pom things, like cheerleaders wave about, aren't they? They're kind of a bit like that. It doesn't matter if you're going over another one at all, because that's just how they are, like that. So we can draw this kind of very old, ancient-y kind of looking tree. And then what we want is to have this sort of pattern that goes all the way up. So it's a bit like the sort of shape of a pine cone in a way. And we want that to come down these branches like that. So they want to be these angles, these lines that we're drawing across like that. And then we want to go the other way so that we get this sort of But pineapple as well, isn't it? Like a pineapple pine cone. Maybe the word pine comes from this pattern, because pineapples and pine cones have nothing to do with each other, do they? I don't think. Or maybe it was just that the pineapple looked like a pine cone. Something. So there, we're nearly done there. And here we can have this sort of growing. Oh, let's have a bit more down there. Have some sort of grass growing up like that. And you just need to do these little flicks like that to create the grass effect. Then all you need to do is colour in your prehistoric tree and hit the subscribe button. This video shows you how to draw a prehistoric plant called Horsetails. You're going to need a pen, a pencil and an eraser. We're going to use a pen just to make a bit of a plan, and very gently, don't press too hard because then it's really hard to rub out the pencil marks later. We want to draw something like that, and then this is going to be the ground, and then very, very gently we're going to sort of draw these curves like that. And then we can get a pen. And then we can get a pen. And what we're going to do is draw these funny little triangles coming out like this. So these are, so the grass grows up and these bits and these sort of leaves sprout out, but these are little covers to the leaves. And we'll just draw these first, and you can colour these in a sort of an orangey red. Like that, and one up on the same on this side. And then we want to do these leaves. So they're going to start with a little short one and a nice long one going sideways, and then these get a bit shorter and they're slightly curving again like that. So sideways, sideways, and then you change the shape of the curve. Okay, curving that way, down to the middle, curve the other way. And then we're going to do the same over on this side, like this. So these grew in prehistoric times, and they grow still today, and there's different types, and there's one called mare's tail, which is really, really terrible. If you get it in your garden, you'll never get rid of it. And it's so strong it can grow underneath concrete and grow through concrete and crack it, and the tarmac of the road and everything. So these are our little leaves, and then we can draw the stem of the plant as well. So this is going to come up like this. So we can follow that pencil line, and then we're going to bring that up just a little bit to there, and we can carry on doing the same with these ones here. And just take your time, there's no hurry. You don't have to rush drawing. I've had a lot of experience, so maybe I go a little bit fast. But while you're practicing and learning, just take your time, and it'll all come together at the end. And then up at the top here, then we want this sort of, this is where the seeds are. So we're just going to do this kind of scribble, scribble, scribble. Like that. Like that. When you are absolutely sure that the ink is dry, then you can erase those pencil lines. And because you drew them so lightly, no one will ever know that you planned it out. They just think you're a genius artist. And then this needs to be growing out of the ground. So we'll just put some kind of stuff down here, other bits of grass and things. So it's just sort of growing out of the ground. And that's how you draw Horsetails. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw some rocks that you might want to put into a landscape drawing. You're going to need a pencil and a pen and an eraser. Let's start by putting sort of a main rock in there. So this is a kind of, looks like a potato. They all look like potatoes. And we'll have another one about there, and we'll have another one at the front there. Put another one sort of like that there, and maybe another one about there. Now we'll start with the one that's nearest to the front like that, and it's going to be sitting in grass and just sticking out like that. And so is this one here, so we'll sort of draw that. This one's right in the front, and that's sort of sticking out from the grass. So you just need these little flicks to make the grass there. And then we can have this one here. It doesn't have to be very smooth. You can make it quite crumbly if you like. And then again, this is going to be sticking out of the grass. And we'll have a little line there and come back a bit on yourself there. So it's kind of a crack or something in the rock. And again, we can have something like that. And then we'll have the grass growing like that. And we'll have a bit more grass. So let's do the grass while we can. So this is in the foreground, and there's a little bit behind as well. So if you go sort of 1, 2, 3 that way and 1, 2, 3 that way, it'll give you that sort of grassy kind of look. And not just 1, 2, 3. You really don't want to draw every blade of grass. Just a suggestion of what's going on there is much better and much easier to draw. When you're sure the ink is dry, then you can erase those pencil lines, and no one will know how you planned it out. They'll just think you're a genius artist. Now we're going to put some shading in here. So this is going to be these little lines. So 1, 2, 3. They're getting smaller and smaller, and in here I'm going to put some shading behind that rock. And these lines are all at the same kind of angle, but I'm curving some of them, and some are long and some are short, and it gives the rock a bit of texture. And we can put some in across there like that, and maybe a bit of shadow behind that rock, which has its own bit of texture. And we're going to have some shadow in behind this rock too, like that. And we're going to have some shadow in there, and we can take this kind of valley or split in this rock down there just with dots and these little lines called hatches. So if you do that, that will also sort of add a bit of texture to the rock. Then we'll put a bit of texture in the rock there, and I think we might have a bit more shadow in there. A little bit more grass in the background so that we know where it's sitting. And then we might want a little bit more shadow on this side. So we'll just do a bit more extra just to give it that sort of slightly darker. And where you're crossing over, that's called cross hatching. So we've done one hatch and now we're crossing over it with another hatch. And there you go, how to draw a little group of rocks. All you have to do now is colour it in a rock colour. If you got this far, you obviously like drawing, so click the subscribe button and come back for lots more drawing. This video shows you how to draw a prehistoric tree. You'll need a pen and a pencil and an eraser. Now let's plan the drawing so that we get it in the right place on the page. We want it nicely in the middle, and then it sort of makes it easy for us to follow as well, doesn't it? So this is going to spread out like that. It's going to spread out like that. So it's like a parentheses shape there, isn't it? And then that's going to go up one, up one, up one, and up one like that. And I made it a bit thick there, really. So what I'm going to do is I'll sort of start there. I'll come in a little bit narrower there, and we'll bring that tree down there. And then this one will come in here. So we'll have it quite slender, and that will come down like that. and then we'll have it sort of just sticking out of the soil there, maybe a bit of sort of gravel and stuff like that. And then that, oh, I've gone wrong there. Never mind, we'll try and cover our mistakes. So we'll come around like that and up and down, and then that will go around and up and down, and that will go up to there. So let me get it right on this side. That's going to come up like that and down, and then up like that, down, and then that will go up there. Now this looks like a good place to erase those pencil lines. So make sure that the ink is dry, because otherwise it's going to smudge. And now you've got it in the right place on the page, and no one will know how you just did that so well. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw these lines. So it has a kind of a grid shape, a pattern to. It has a pattern to the branches. It has a pattern to the trunk and the skin of the tree, which is a sort of bit of a pinecone-y kind of pattern, I suppose you might say. And we'll just draw that all the way up the tree. That's fairly easily done. And then we want to draw some leaves, and these are just going to be scribbled on there. So you come up, 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 and then back round like that. And here, it doesn't matter if you go across into the other one, that's okay. And you sort of go across like that. And of course, this would be green. So if you're going to do it in colour, you can draw this in a green coloured crayon or felt tip pen or something like that. And again, we're going to do the same here. So we're coming like that, we're coming up to the top and then around and then kind of back down in the other kind of direction. And we come up to the top, around and then back in the other direction. But it's all scribbling really, isn't it? And we can maybe tidy that up a bit in the middle there. And we need to get more into the branch there on that side. And then we're just going to get a few bits of sort of bits hanging down. So these could be fruits or something like that, and old dead leaves. Probably fruits hanging down like that. All you need to do is to colour in your prehistoric tree and hit the subscribe button. In this video, I'm going to show you how to draw a T-Rex. You're going to need a pencil and a pen and an eraser. Okay, we're going to start with a body. So let's have a kind of a rugby ball kind of shape like that. Trying to decide what size I want it to be. So something like that. Look, this is a plan for a drawing. Don't press too hard because you'll find it really difficult to erase later. Okay, so just touch the paper lightly. And then we want that to come up there. And then we want it to come up a little bit like that and down. And then kind of down there and down there in a triangle. You can kind of feel that T-Rex kind of thing, can't you, going on there. And then the tail's going to want to come out there like that. Arms. And then we want the legs to come sort of like this. And that wants to be the knee there. And we want to have the other leg coming forward there. That's our plan. And let's start with the head. In fact, let's start with the eye. So we're going to go up and down like that. And across, don't quite join at the end there. And then we want the eye like that. And that's going to make him kind of look a bit angry. And then we go up and down a bit and like that. And then we're going to do up and down and around like that, up and down to the end there. And then we can bring that around there to the jaw. Let's put in all those teeth. 1, 2, 3. So these are lots of great big zigzag sharp teeth. Okay. And then we'll have a tongue which comes out like that. And a nostril, maybe like that. Now let's have a kind of a prehistoric skinny kind of skin. So make it a little bit lumpy, that line, and we can just bring that up there a bit. And then we're going to draw the arms. So they have funny little arms, don't they? Just come forwards like that, and then we just want two kind of hooky kind of toes, fingernails. They're not toes. Toes are on the legs. And then we can draw the neck and the body coming down like that, and then we can draw the other arm from the other side coming out like that. Now we're going to draw the leg coming down to there, and we'll come into the back of the knee and then down to the ankle. Now this is where it gets complicated. So T-Rex has 3 big toes, so we're going to come down and put a little hook on the end. We'll come down, put a little hook on the end, and then on the other side here we'll draw across and a little hook on the end. Then we're going to draw these claws like that, and then a little curve underneath them like that, and then they're going to turn into those kind of claws, 3-toe claw feet like that. And then we can do the other leg coming down there, and we'll do the same thing. So this will sort of come into one, around, that will come down to there and around, that will come to there and around, and we want these toes like that. And actually, when you look at chickens and things like that, you can see how much chickens and birds actually look like dinosaurs, which is what they are sort of related to. And then we'll have the rest of the tail like that. Now let's have some maybe some rocks and things in there as well, and some grass and and we're going to want to have some little spots and things. And when you're absolutely sure that the ink is dry, you can erase all those pencil lines, and no one will know how you got it so perfect in the right place on the page and everything like that. And we can just finish this off with some little kind of stripes. So I'm just doing little dashes really like that. And I think this sort of adds a bit of texture and pattern to the skin, which it probably had some, well, it must have had some kind of a pattern on the skin, but you know, we don't have any dinosaur skin left to know quite what the actual pattern of the skin was. So I'm just going to draw some of these little things like that and some lines, and I'm going to have some shading in there, some shading in there, and some shading in on the back leg there. I think we might have some kind of lines around there, some shading in there. And then all you need to do now is colour in your T-Rex and hit the subscribe button. This video shows you how to draw a Triceratops. You'll need a pencil and a pen and an eraser. Triceratops is a really weird thing to draw. So I'm going to start with sort of a lump of like an egg or something like that. This is going to be the body, and up on the top, maybe about there, then we need to draw the head sort of coming down like that, a sort of square block. And then from about there we're going to need the frill, which will then come in, and we're going to need legs, which will sort of go like that, and a bit of a tail as well. Now this is a plan for our drawing so that we can get it in the right place and the right size. Don't press hard when you're drawing in pencil, because then it's really difficult to erase after you've inked it in, which is what we're going to do now. So round about here, just above where this line comes here, we're going to come out and like that. So it's quite a snaky kind of line. And then we'll come back like that. And then that's going to be like the horn. And then we're going to want to have slightly crumbly sort of line coming up there and another horn coming out there. And we'll put a little kind of circle around the base of it there like we've done here. And then we're going to want another horn coming sort of about there, and that's going to come down like that. So that's hidden on the other side of the face. And then we want the frill, and it's sort of slightly curvy, bumpy like that, and in. Now we're going to put in the eye just below the horn here and do this kind of crumbly curve like that, and then we'll do like a little S kind of shape. So we're going to make him look a little irritated, okay? Yeah. And then they have a beak. So that's going to come down like that because they have a beak because they're herbivores. You know, they look really dangerous, but in fact they eat plants. They just sit around eating plants. And probably having fights with Tyrannosaurus Rex every now and then. Although they think maybe big grown-up ones, Tyrannosaurus Rex, would probably leave them alone. And we're going to just put that sort of mouth in there. I think the big ones might have just left them alone because they're big and they got big horns and you've got to worry about that. But they might have sort of gone for the little ones and the weak ones. So that's kind of the lower jaw. And then, of course, we want these little horns on the top of the frill as well. Like that. Put another one in there. And we might want to have some sort of curving lines in like that. Now let's draw a leg. So this is going to come down there like that. And I'm going to curve it around like that. And they have 5 toes. 2, 3, 4. I'm going to draw 4 because one is going to be kind of hidden around the other side. They're a bit like elephants' feet in a way. I think they're related to rhinoceroses or something somewhere along the line, but don't quote me on that. And I'm not a paleontologist. I'm not a dinosaur expert. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, 2. Of course, if you're wanting to draw this, you're probably a much better dinosaur expert than I am. So let's have this sort of crumbly skin on the top, and that will come out to the tail. And then we want this a bit crumbly again, coming down, and then just slightly back because that's kind of like a knee there. And we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. And then we have sort of crumbly tummy skin underneath there, and a tail. And then we just need one more kind of leg coming in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, when the ink is absolutely dry, you're really sure about that, then you can erase all those pencil lines without smudging the lines, because you don't want to do that. And because you didn't press too hard, it's easy to erase the pencil lines, because the pencil just sort of sits on the surface of the paper and you don't dig it in. So now let's make it look a bit more realistic. We'll put some sort of grass and stuff around here like that, and we just need these little kind of flicky lines, and that will give us a sort of a grass effect. And we want to have these sort of folds, and we want to have these folds and things like that, and sort of rumbly, rumptious skin that sort of folds and crinkles and crumples, and so we'll just put all these sort of lines in here like that. We'll have some in there, and we're also going to want to have some shading in on those ones underneath like that. So just going to draw that bit of shading in there, maybe even a bit darker by cross hatching there like that. And I'm going to add these little bits of hatching here just to give a bit of shape to the frill here. So these are slightly curving lines like that. And then down here we can add a bit of shadow behind there. And then we'll give a bit of shape to these horns like that with these little kind of dots. So we start, almost be a bit more on that side. So we start with like little curves and lines and dashes, and then they turn into dots. And we'll do here dashes, 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 dots, dots. And I think we can do the same along here as well, just to give that bit more of a sort of a texture to it. And again, we can put more of these little kind of lines in just to give it that crumbly skin kind of texture. Then all you need to do is colour in your Triceratops and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time on Draw Stuff Real Easy.